Good evening, all. Welcome to tonight's I'mPossible conversation. I'mPossible conversation where the ordinary people share their extraordinary stories. Tonight, my guest is Pauline Messenger. She's an author and what's it called? Angelic, oh no, wait, Reiki. It's like she's like very spiritual and angelic grand. Okay, she'll explain it herself. Hello, Pauline. I it's
Hi.
because it's not very familiar. Hello, Angelic Reiki Grandmaster. Okay, please welcome.
Hi. So where would you like me to start?
Please
At the beginning?
introduce yourself first. Yeah.
Well, my life was I spent 16 years in banking, and
Mm-hmm.
then in 1992, my husband and I bought a hotel which
Mm-hmm.
we ran for 14 years. We had 40 staff, and unfortunately, in year 2000, June the 11th, he found that our assistant manageress had stolen a lot of money. But as the investigations went on, and we went to Crown Court, we realised, well, I was informed that my husband had had a 5-year affair with her. So obviously things went a bit pear-shaped, but we kept going. And I said I would stand by him, but if anything happened again, then that would be it. And 18 months later, unfortunately, you can't, they always say you can't change a person, and he was doing it again. So I told him I wanted a divorce, and then things got nasty and very abusive. We ended up having the bailiff. I'd had to walk out of work because he was so abusive. And then 3 months later, I got a phone call to say the bailiff was coming because he hadn't paid any of the bills from the day I walked out of work. And I phoned my solicitor and said, "What do I do?" And the solicitor said, "Shut the blinds and get out." And so I did that. And then I came back about 5:10 in the evening to find a note on the doormat to say the bailiff had been and he was coming back. So I rang my next door neighbour and I rang my best friend and I said, could they help me? Because my solicitor had said, clear the house. So in an hour and a quarter half, we cleared a big 4-bedroom detached house. But in the middle of it, I walked along the hallway and standing in the doorway was the bailiff. And I had to explain to him, I said, this is emotional blackmail. I said, it's so not fair that you were standing here demanding half the money which he hasn't paid. He has all the cash, and yet you're coming to me. So he realised that he knew, because he could see through the double doors, that the lounge was empty. And he said that he would give us 24 hours. He said we had enough collateral. And I think he realised, and I think he tried to give me a little bit more time to obviously empty the house.
Mm-hmm.
So over the next 2 weeks, there was a lot of telephone calls and it was very stressful. But actually this happened on the Monday, and on the Saturday something snapped inside, and I think I got to the bottom of a very deep black hole. And my son and I stood in each other's arms and we cried. We broke our hearts. And I just promised him that day, I said, look, I said, whatever happens, we will get through this. I promise. And that day, that evening, I was supposed to be having friends round. And by the lunchtime, I had a good talk to myself, and I said, come on, girl, get your makeup on, get in the shower, get ready, and just show them. And so I asked my neighbour if I could borrow our garden furniture. She carried it her and I carried it into the lounge, and I entertained my friends. And that day was the biggest lesson in humility. And I thought, if my friends were true friends, then they would accept me for who I was. And obviously they did. But from there, I went back to college because I'd walked out of my business, and I thought, what do I do? So I went to be trained as an holistic therapist. And when I started in the September, it was quite a frightening thing because I'd left school at 16, and here I was at what would I be? I would be 51, starting a new career. And I turned the corner, and all I could see was 16, 17-year-olds. And I just thought, right, okay, here's another step, huge step. I've got to do it. And so I went and I started to train. I did Swedish body massage, Indian head, reflexology, and aromatherapy. But it was just
So
as well.
you were 51 when you started training on that?
Yes, yes.
Wow. Like some people would never even go to close to college, but that's admirable.
It was quite funny because the day after I walked out of work, when he was so abusive, there'd been the program for the college, and I opened it, and what jumped out on the page was holistic therapies. And I thought, do you know, that's something I've always been interested in, so why not try it?
Mm-hmm.
And so yes, I was one of the oldest in the class, but I thoroughly enjoyed doing it, and I think it was something I needed to do because obviously I was going through so much trauma at home because my husband wouldn't get out of the house. So I was being, well, I had to sleep in a locked bedroom. And when I'd had so much abuse the night before, I would go into work and go into college, and the lecturer could see from my face how bad things were. And she would say, Pauline, you have the first massage this morning. And I swear down that got me through one of my worst years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
But never mind. So as time went on, in the February, um, we were having coffee. We all would sit and have coffee together, the girls, and they called her Victoria. She was Russian, and she claimed to be a white witch, and she introduced me to angels, and so it was something which I hadn't come across, and the following week was half term, and I took Paul, my youngest boy, to America to see my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And when we changed planes in Amsterdam, the lady sitting beside Paul, because I was on one side, and she introduced herself, and she said she was an holistic therapist who worked with angels. And I said, well, that's quite strange, because I said that I've just been introduced to angels by a friend at college. And she talked all the way to America about angels. So when my friend picked me up at the airport, I had to say to her, I said, this is really strange. I said, I've just been told about angels. And I said, he's this lady sitting next to us on the plane, and she's talked angels all the way. Well, that week, everywhere we went, there were angels. And my friend said to me, she says, I have never, ever seen angels anywhere I've gone. And yet, everywhere we've gone, there've been angels.
Mhm.
And we walked into this beautiful, it was like an antique type shop, and on the mantelpiece were 3 ornaments of carved angel wings. And I said, look at the angel wings on the mantelpiece. So we had a look around the shop, and as I was walking out, I said, someone must have bought some. I said, because there's one missing. So never mind, it was my birthday while I was there, and she'd bought me the angel wings, which are absolutely beautiful and I treasure. So that was the start of my life with angels. And I
Mhm.
believe it was at my darkest moment what I needed. I was very much on my own. My husband at the time had told lies, and my family weren't speaking to me. And so I was very much on my own. It was walking a solitary path. But what I did know was when I was so upset, I would pray, because my
Mhm.
faith has never left me, no matter how bad my life is. And when I prayed, I would get this beautiful warmth, and I felt as if I was surrounded by love.
Mhm.
And that kept me going.
You mentioned about the Russian lady you met and like your friend
Yes,
was,
Victoria.
yeah, Victoria. She was witch.
Yes, she was a
So
white witch.
what's that mean?
Well, a white witch is somebody who sort of she's good.
Uh,
She works with the angels.
uh-huh.
So it was all very positive. Oh, she'd do portions in the cakes when she used to bring them in. Mind, they were delicious when she brought them into college. But so anyway, so that was my journey started. And when I had to go to court to before that, one night it got quite violent, and I had quite a bit bruising on my body. And when I went to college the next day, straight away they picked it up, and they said, where have these bruises come from? I said, well, things got a bit heated last night,
Mhm.
and it was my husband. I said, right, you must phone the doctors, phone the police, phone the solicitor. So that night I had to go to my GP. Then they sent me to the police station. Then they sent me to the main police station to be photographed. And then things had to go to the family court to start the proceedings to get him out of the house, because it just wasn't safe. The police said I was not safe in the house.
Mhm.
And on the that was on the Monday, and I think it was the Wednesday or Thursday, my keys went missing from the bedroom and for the front door. And a friend of mine said, right, you must get the locks changed. You can't stay in that house with the keys missing. So I phoned the locksmith that night. And while he was there on the inside of my bedroom changing the lock, there was it was either my husband or my eldest son, because he was controlling my eldest son, were trying to kick the door down. And I had to phone for the police. And when they came and they saw, I'd had the photographs of the bruising were in my bedroom, and which they saw, and they said, who's done this? And I said, well, it was my husband downstairs. And they said, right, your life is in danger, you've got to get out, and we must take you to a safe house now.
Mhm.
So I had to phone my sister and say, look, can I come and stay? I'd sent Paul down further earlier on in the evening, because I knew something was going to kick off. The atmosphere was horrendous. And so that night I had to get out of the house, and it took 3 weeks for it to get to court, when the judge said she gave him a week to get out, and we got back in the house on the 15th of December just before Christmas. And then that's when I had to start. And the next 7 months, he tried every way possible to he tried liquidation first, then he tried to make us bankrupt, then he tried everything, really. And in the May, I said, right, okay. He'd been so terrible, and my next door neighbour knew what was going on, and she said, look, my sister will lend you the cottage. Go away in Teesdale. Go away for a few days and just rest. So I went and I prayed and I meditated and I asked God. I said, look, we'd worked 14 years, 17 hours a day, 7 days a week to build up our business. And I said, please, can we have what the hotel is worth? Please don't let it go bust. And I came back on the Thursday night, and there was a phone call, and this gentleman said, are you aware I have offered for the hotel? And I said, no, I had no knowledge at all. And then the next morning, I looked out the window, and there's a big Merc pulls up outside, and there was 2 big men came out and knocked at my door, and they said they had also put an offer in for the hotel. So I rang my solicitor, and over the next few weeks, considering we didn't even advertise it, we had 5 people fighting over it, and we got the price what I had asked God for. And eventually we in the July, I had to just, wasn't equal or anything, and I just had to say, right, just let him have it. And the barrister said, well, you've won. She said, you've won, because if you can walk away and not fight over money, then she says that's when you do win. And because I just thought all the time the judge was saying, well, we had to get forensic accountants in, and I worked it out, and I thought, for what we were fighting over, for the length it would take, there would be nothing left for everyone's fees. So I just thought, right, walk away and have peace of mind in the end. And so that's when I started again and started to get on with my life. The sorry, what were you going to say?
So, like lots of things happened, but how did you manage to overcome? Because is it all about angels that did they secure you?
They kept me going at all times. My faith and trust, certainly. And I was getting messages. I could hear messages, and that's when I knew that I thought, so I'm being watched over here. It's time for me to move on. I've put up with this abuse for too long, and that kept me going. Definitely, it gave me the strength to keep going, because some days, I can tell you, were bad days, but it proved in the end that I did the right thing. Yes, it was hard. It was hard because my son it was like my right arm had been wrenched out away from me when my son went with his dad, because his dad said that he had been unfaithful, but I was splitting the family up. So my son thought that was terrible, and so he went with his dad. But 18 months later, I got a phone call to say, Mum, can I come home because I can't live with Dad anymore? And I said, yeah, but it's my house, my rules. And so things started to pick up, and we kept going. And then in 2013, Mum took ill, care for her, and it it was lovely. It was lovely in some ways. It was hard in others because, yes, having your 93-year-old mum, just watching her deteriorate was hard. But the boys loved it because they would tuck her in at night, and she loved it because she was surrounded by them. I mean, yes, it was heavy work because she would fall, or there was one day I had the hairdresser there, and she was perming her hair, and she'd got all the perm solution on and the curlers in, and I walked her to the seat, and she just about collapsed in the seat and just about passed out. And I'm saying to the hairdresser, how long can we leave the perm solution on? She's really not well. And she said 15 minutes. So I said, right, I'll get the wheelchair out of the car, and we'll wheel her into the downstairs bathroom and get it rinsed off, and then I can phone for an ambulance while you drying her hair. And this is what we did. And when the ambulance arrived, Mum's hair was all perfect. And she said to the ambulance driver, what's my hair like? And he said, it's beautiful, Florence. She says, oh, well, it's all right, then you can take me now, she said. So even though it was hard, it was very hard, you had to laugh at times, So she, unfortunately, on the 29th of August, we went out to celebrate Paul's birthday, and she couldn't eat, and I thought, there's something not right here. And we got her back, and she started to have the shakes, and early the next morning I had to phone for the rapid response, and she went into hospital, and she never came back home. She went from there. She had a few weeks in hospital, and then she went into a home because I couldn't care for her anymore. She needed two people. She needed nursing rather than just care. And on the 12th of December, I moved to Weardale. I just thought, Stephen, my eldest, had been offered a job in Weardale, in Dubai, with Harley Davidson, because
Wow.
yes, well, he'd had bad times. He'd had deep depression, and earlier that year he'd nearly committed suicide. He'd ended up on the cliffs at Whitburn in Sunderland, and the police helicopter and the police had rescued him, and he'd been sectioned. And again, I prayed to the angels, and Archangel Michael came to my rescue, because when I'd got into the mental hospital on the Sunday, Stephen was laughing, and I'd never heard him laugh for months. And it was a lovely sound. And out of his room came a nurse called Michael. And I swear down it was Archangel Michael, because he had literally turned him round. And from then on, his life just seemed to pick up. He got the job he bought a Harley, because his girlfriend had finished with him. He says, right, Mum, I'm going to buy a Harley. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, no, when you've had somebody with deep depression and then they're wanting to buy a motorbike, it's like alarm bells. And then I thought, no, he's going out, he's getting fresh air, he'll meet other bikers. I could only see positives. And so I said, right, okay. And of course, when he used to go out, if you buy a bike, they go out for a ride on a Wednesday night, and he used to go out with them. And this night he says, Mum, he says, they've asked me if I want a job, they want my CV. And I said, well, you've got a job. He says, like, yeah, I know. I said, well, go, it's experience. So he went on the Friday for the job interview, and he phoned me. He says, Mum, where are you? I said, I'm down at the beach. Stay there, Mum, stay. So he came and joined me, and he said, they want me to have the job. And I said, well, look, money is not everything. I said, go where you will be happy. I said, go for a ride, have a think about it, think about where you're working, and think about the Harley garage and decide. So anyway, he did. He went for a drive and he came back and he said yes, he would go to Harley.
Mhm.
So, and it was lovely because over the couple of months, he used to get on it on a Wednesday night when they took all the clients for a ride. They had a choice of whichever bike in the showroom they would like to take for this drive.
Mhm.
And
Oh, wow.
this night, yeah. So
That's
this
so
night he had
cool.
this, yeah. This night he'd been and it had a pillion seat, and he came in at 10 o'clock. He says, "Mum, go and get your jeans." I said, "Go." He says, "Go on, go and change your jeans." And I said, "Well, what for?" He said, "I'm going to take you for a ride. That might be the only chance you get. I'll go and get my leather jacket, my spare one, and the helmet." And he came downstairs and he's fastening them on, and I said,
So
"I
you've
might not
been
get
on
my
it.
leg over." I said, "I might not get my leg over the bike." He says, "You
Uh,
will, you will. I'll help you." So so anyway, I got on the bike. I said, just round the estate. Don't. Well, no, Stephen wasn't like that. And off we went, and off to, I think I screamed all the way around. But honestly, every time we went round a roundabout, and we went round lots of roundabouts. But it was so much fun, and I've got such wonderful memories of that. And I came back, I couldn't sleep that night because the adrenaline was so high. But
I can imagine.
yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then it was about I think it was about the October. Um and I got a text. He always used to text me, and Mum, he says, "I've been offered this job in Dubai. What do I do?" I said, "Well, you go." I said, "You can
Okay.
always come home,
Mhm.
but that door of opportunity will never be open again. So
Mhm.
go." Oh, he says, "I never thought about it that way, Mum." Right, okay. So he booked and he went beginning of December. He took 2 weeks holiday and he went off to California. He did 2,300 miles on a Harley, and he stopped at every Harley Davidson dealership getting a T-shirt on his way. Went to Vegas. He spent his 28th birthday, no, 27th birthday in Vegas. And the tale he told when he came back was amazing. And then on New Year's morning, 2014, he flew to Dubai to start a new life. And honestly, it was the start of a fantastic time. He met some wonderful people. I mean, he really did take that leap of faith. And I think to anybody who has had depression, get the help, because honestly, I know it's frightening being
Mhm.
sectioned, but there are brilliant people in there with absolutely, that they know what to do to get you turned round. And they made a new person of him. They really did. I wished I'd done it earlier, because when Stephen
Mhm.
was 15, he had deep depression, and we had an awful time then. Then he went to Malawi when he went for a month on a world challenge. That got him
Mhm.
out of that depression. But I would say to anybody who listens to this, if you do suffer from depression, don't struggle. Get the advice, get the help. If need be, go into hospital, because they
Mhm.
will turn you around. And
Is there a
but
long
yes,
queue
so
or something like that for the NHS?
well, I think when you're pretty desperate, they
Mhm.
will get you in there.
Oh, okay.
And but it was honestly, it changed his life, definitely.
Mhm.
And so that was January the 1st, 2014. And then in May 2014, my younger son got a phone call saying, "Can you come out to Dubai to mechanic?" And so he went for a weekend, all expenses paid, came back, and he said, "Mum, I've been offered 2 jobs in
Oh,
Dubai."
wow.
I said, I said, "Really?" He said, yeah. He says, I've just got to decide which one I want. And then, so he went out 3 days after his birthday that year on the 29th of August. So that year I'd lost my mum. My mum died in February. So Stephen went January, Mum died February, and Paul went to Dubai in the August, and I was left on my own. And I thought, what on earth is the universe up to now? Why is it clearing my life? I just really didn't know. And then, I mean, it was great because, well, I say it was great. The first time I went out to Dubai, I mean, like people say, Arab states. Well, I was very nervous about flying out there on my own. But when I got there, I absolutely fell in love with it. And so I would go out twice a year to see the boys. I would go out for Stephen's birthday, and I'd go out to celebrate my birthday. Paul was always racing on his, so he wasn't bothered if I was there or not. But
So did you say he was racing? He was
Paul
racing.
Paul. He was.
Was he like a racing driver? Like
no, he was working for a team. He was doing with go-karts. And but now he's team manager, and he has 6 Formula 4 cars and 12 go-karts, which he manages. He manages all the drivers and everything. He's only 25, but he owns 20% of the company now. Oh, I mean, honestly, it was the making of him. But we had more problems to come, because on the 6th of August 2018, was it 2018? No, 2016, sorry. The years are going by so quick. I got the phone call that no parent wants to receive. And it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd just gone to bed at 2:30 because I'd watched the opening of the Olympics. And I literally hadn't been in bed about 20 minutes when the phone rang. And I thought it was Paul being in a nightclub, and he thought, oh, I'd ring my mum. And I just got, Mum, Stephen's dead. And I just couldn't believe it. And it just so happened Paul was in England. He'd been racing that weekend, his team in England, and he was in Manchester. His friends were with him, and Stephen's friend had contacted him to say that Stephen had been involved in a road incident, and he died instantly. And I had to just make phone call, get on the first plane that day with Emirates to fly to Dubai. And it was one of the worst things I've ever had to do, was travel 7.5 hours on a plane, knowing my son was dead at the other end of it. And then I had to start and prepare. And they do things a lot different to us. I mean, I had to visit the mortuary twice. I had to go at the embalmers. I had to go at the cargo to book his coffin in and sort all these things out. We only had minimum time. I couldn't leave Paul with it because he was only 21, and no way could he have dealt with it. And it was really hard. And then the following week, I had to fly back with Stephen's coffin in the hold, and it was just horrendous. And I knew the undertaker was waiting for us at the other end, but it was really hard, because when I was there, I had all the bikers who they needed me to support them. I mean, they were marvelous. They gave us somebody all the time to speak Arabic, because obviously we couldn't deal with the authorities. We couldn't speak. They needed somebody else there who could speak Arabic. We they did a 40 bike ride in Stephen's memory, which we followed behind, which was amazing. And then they did a a memorial service for him, and they put it all on. They did it beautiful. They had a big photograph printed of him and beautiful white roses. They put food on, and I did prayers and the eulogy. And Paul did a speech about what his brother meant to him, and his dad. He just thanked everyone for going. And there was about 90 people in that room. And I said, Stephen would never, ever have said there would have been so many people. So it was, I felt I wanted to bottle the love in that room and bring it home with me. It was so special. But of course, then we had to come home and we had to start again.
Yeah.
Only I didn't have Paul this time to keep the peace between his dad and I. But this time I realised how much I'd grown because I could deal with it. Whereas before he could dictate and he could be abusive. This time I stood up to him. And it even got to the stage where he got the undertaker to lie to me about where Stephen ashes could go. We'd already arranged in Dubai where they were going, but this day I'd gone to the undertakers and he said, oh, by the way, Stephen's ashes can't go where you wanted them. And I just felt, when you have that gut feeling, and I went with it, and I just went to the graveyard because his ashes were going in my mum's grave, and I just said a prayer and I said, if you are not meant to go, your ashes are not meant to go in this grave, I'll accept it. But if they are, please give me a sign. And the next thing I knew, something was telling me to go knock on the church, the priest's door, which I did. And I said, can you help me? I said, can my son's ashes go in his nana's grave? Oh, he says, yes. He says, that's where I'd expect them to go. I said, well, the undertaker has told me no. He said, look, don't listen to the undertaker. He said, I'll give you the stonemason. You go and see about the gravestone and we will sort it out between us. So that's what we did. And I went back to the undertakers and I just said, how low can you go? I said, to actually lie. I said, a mother will fight to the bitter end for her child. And I said, I know what Stephen would want, and this is what he would want. I said, if I wouldn't want him with me for when I eventually go. I said, it's his nana who he absolutely adored. And I said, that's where he's got to go. So never mind. We did and when I'd come back from Dubai, I'd gone to church, and my local priest, he wanted to know what had happened, and he was talking to me, and I said, I said it would have been lovely if we could have had a bike escort. I said we'd had 40 bike ride in Dubai. I said I've managed to get a Harley hearse, and I said I would really have loved some bikers. And he just said, well, my friend has a Harley. He's a biker. Would you like me to talk to him? And I said, yes, please. And so he says, can I give him your number? And yes, no problem. So on the Monday night, I received a call, and it was from his friend. And he said, look, he said, can I put this out on Facebook? And I said, yes, I would like that. And by the funeral, we had 30 bikers escorted him. And just before we left the door, this guy came up to me and he said, would you like a biker's salute? Well, I hadn't a clue what a biker's salute was. And I thought, well, in for a penny, in for a pound. So, yes, please. I said, that would be lovely. Oh, we'll do it at the Creme, he said. I said, right, okay. So we had Stephen's funeral and we were waiting at the Creme, and every organ in my body was shaking. And I just thought, why are we waiting? I can't understand it. I couldn't see what was going on. But then this really huge, I mean, I think it was about 7 foot biker, had given the signal, and the 30 bikes revved their engines together. It was it everybody said they had goosebumps. And I just thought, do you know what? Stephen loved to be different, and he would have loved that. And it just was so touching for the final thing. So, but it was horrendous. It really was. But then I started to get over that, and I went to a medium who actually she saw parents who'd lost children, and she said, "You're going to write." I said, "Well, that's funny because," I said, "I had pneumonia at the beginning of that year." I said, "I'd started to write." I said, "Really, I've got like a small book written." And she said, "Well, Stephen is working through you." She said, "You will, he wants you." She says, "It's not just one." She says, "There might be 3 or 4." I said, "Right, okay." I said, "Well, I can hear him." I said, "All I could hear was, 'I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.'" And I said, "Don't," and I used to say, "Don't worry. It had to be, you know, because what I didn't say was on his 29th birthday, I'd gone to Dubai. And I said to him, I said, after we'd celebrated his birthday, I said, right, we must sort out what we're going to do for your 30th. And he said, "Mum, I don't want to be 30. I don't want to get old." I said, "Oh, don't say that." I said, "That's what my uncle said about his 50th. He had his 50th on his 49th birthday. And I said he wasn't here. He died on holiday. So he wasn't here for his 50th. So don't say that." But of course, Stephen wasn't here for his 30th.
So the people
So,
know, don't they?
yes, definitely,
Mhm.
I would say. But it was in the October, I think, after Stephen had died, and I'd been talking to we had some visiting priests, and we were having a curry night in the town hall. And I was telling this priest about Stephen and what had happened and all the different things. And she said, "You know, you should write a book. You should write about this." I said, "Well, that's strange what you should say, because I'd already been told that." She said, "Well, how I have dealt with it is different to, I mean, I only know sort of what I've had to deal with.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
obviously, as a priest, she's known a lot of other people."
Mhm.
And she said, "How I was dealing with it was quite different. But I think because I believe in the angels and I believe about life after death, and I'd heard Stephen, I know he's there, things were happening. Everything, like with the funeral, just fitted into place. And I just thought, yeah, there is something bigger happening here." And I had to listen and go with it. And he was showing me what he wanted.
Mhm.
And so I started writing his book. I finished off the book. So that was when I was the following year, and I just got it finished, and I was ready to publish it when I took ill. I was in Dubai, and well, I just had a feeling that was the last time I was going to Dubai. So I'd booked for 18 days. I normally go for a week to 10 days. And whilst I was there, I really felt unwell. And I didn't like to tell Paul because I thought, well, he'll worry, because
Mhm.
after Stephen had died, he does worry.
Yeah.
And I went down to the pharmacist and got tablets, but it made no difference. I was very dizzy and it just felt awful. So when I came home on the Monday. My neighbour had died whilst I was away, so I went to her funeral on the Tuesday. And on the Wednesday, our head chef from the hotel, what we had, had dropped down dead at work at 48. And I thought, do you know what? I think I need to go to the doctor's. So I phoned up and asked for an emergency appointment. And I went along, got in at 12. By 1 o'clock, I was in Durham University Hospital. And they did brain scan, chest scan, everything. And they said I needed to go to the chronic chest pain. Made an appointment for me. I came home, and on the Saturday, I had to phone 999. I had chest pains. Went in, stayed a few days, and they said I needed an angiogram. But then there was a sickness bug in the hotel, so in the hospital. So the doctor said, look, I'm going to send you home for the weekend. Come back for next week. So that's what she did. I had the angiogram, and they said I had 3 main blockages and I needed a triple heart bypass. So I came home, sent me home, and they said, right, I would hear word when I had to go in. On the Saturday night, I had a dream, and Stephen came to me and he said, Mum, I've come to take you home. He said, me and my friend, and his friend was dressed in a long brown cloak with a pointy hood, who someone, when I described it later, said it was Merlin the magician. And I said, well, that's strange because Stephen was a magician. He did Young Magician of the Year in London, and he worked as a magician in Hamleys. So I said, that's really strange, that. And so anyway, when he came to me in the dream, I woke up and I had severe chest pain. And I thought about it, and I thought, do you know, I've still got work to do here. So I said, look, I'm sorry, son, but I can't come. I'm going to have to phone for an ambulance. So I phoned for an ambulance. And when I was taken in and they'd put me in a side ward, the nurse came in and she turned and looked, and I said, what's the matter? She said, I could have sworn somebody walked in with me. And I thought, he's here. He's watching over me. And from then, I was transferred. And on the 13th of June, Stephen's lucky number 13, so I knew I would be okay. I had a triple heart bypass. And but before I'd gone in, I said to the universe, I said, right, I will finish this book. I thought, you're not stopping me. I thought, when I come out of hospital, I will finish this book. And so fast forward a few months into recovery, I actually got it published. And last year, well, 2018, 19, I published my first book, Only Dead Fish Go With the Flow.
Only Dead Fish Go With Flow. What
yes,
a name.
Well, it's a case of a fish will swim upstream regardless, and it doesn't give up until it's dead. And that's how I feel with my life. That you can throw anything at me, but I will keep going. I just stay focused, and I just think, I know when I went down for my heart bypass, they turned around and they said, look, they said, you do realise you could die? And I said, yes. But I said, it's all right. I've done my letter. I've spoken to my son. Everything's sorted. So there's nothing that hasn't been prepared. And when I came round, they couldn't believe it because I went straight back to the ward instead of intensive care. And I think it was a case of I'd just given it up and thought, right, I wasn't worried, I wasn't stressed. And I think my body could tell because of that.
How
and
do
I
you
had
feel?
a quicker recovery.
Yeah. How do you feel now looking back? Because your life, it was just full of ups and downs. And looking back now, today, and tell me all about it. Yeah, how do you feel?
How do
What's
I
the
feel?
message from there? Yeah.
I just feel that everything's been for a reason.
Mhm.
And I feel my divorce, it made me stronger so that I could deal, because I've now been on my own 13 years. But I
Mhm.
have traveled the world in those 13 years. I've done South Africa, I've been to Bali on my own, I've been to India on my own. I've had some fantastic adventures, and I've had my freedom, and it has been so well worth everything. All the pain, all
Fantastic.
the heartache. I would say if anybody is in that situation, I know it's frightening, and it's the unknown about where you're going, but you've got to do it. You've got to do it for you. You are number one, and you've got
Mhm.
to look after you. And when you do, it is amazing what the universe provides for you. There's always something better waiting. It's like
Mhm.
now, in this position we're in now, there is better to come. Yes, we can't see it, and yes, we don't know what it is, but I can assure you that what is to come will be so much better than what we've had.
Mhm.
And that's how I felt with my life. I mean, the heart bypass to me was like a rebirth. I was given the chance to start again.
Yeah.
And I felt the surgeon, had taken all my pain away. Those three bypasses were my divorce, Stephen's
Mhm.
death,
Yeah.
and my family, who just didn't speak. But
Mhm.
that's what he removed. He removed all the heartache, and so I was ready. Everything was clean. I'm ready for a fresh start. So I'm here for a long time yet. I might be 65, but I'm not going without a fight.
That's a spirit. That's a spirit, Pauline.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it,
So I'd like to ask, what's your proudest accomplishment so far?
I would think writing my book,
Mhm.
and getting my next book out, which it's not on Amazon. That is a task in itself, but
Uh-huh.
at least it's available on my website. Um, but yeah, I mean, and traveling on my own, um, something, if you'd asked me 20, 30 years ago, I would have said, no way could I do that.
Mhm.
And yet I absolutely love it. The excitement I get. I mean, someone said to me with Indian photos, they said you smiled on every photo. And I said, I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Life is wonderful,
It's,
isn't it?
oh, I just think life is so precious.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
what makes you laugh the most?
What makes me laugh?
The most. I'm sure there are thousands of things, but what
Do you
makes
know,
you laugh the most?
it's, it's, it's quite funny. I like silly jokes,
Uh-huh.
but I like, is it what's that one, what's the program, where they say, is it a true or false, a truth or a lie? I can't think where it is. I
I
can't
don't
even
know.
think
I
what
don't
they call.
really watch TV.
Oh, I that is the one thing I watch, because I kill myself laughing at that program.
Uh-huh.
I love it. I love it.
Right. Okay. So then I'll move on my next one. If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would that be?
One meal. Um. Oh, I don't know. A Sunday dinner.
Every day for rest of your
Oh
life?
no, I
That
do
would,
like a Sunday. I like
yeah.
a proper Sunday dinner. That was the
Uh-huh.
one thing I needed when I got back from India. I said to my friend, "Please take me for a Sunday dinner." So
Lovely.
yes,
Okay. And thank you very much for your time and being guest on I'mPossible Conversation. And my last question for you is
yes.
the moment that made you say proudly to yourself, I am possible. Do you know what? I did it. I made it. What was that moment?
That was the moment I got my box of books. It was like giving the birth to a baby. When I opened when I opened that, and do you know what? I was tearful because I
Uh-huh.
could feel my mum,
Uh-huh.
and it was as if they were with me, and I really filled up, and I
Mm-hmm.
just thought I did it. So yes, that would have to be it. Yeah,
Fantastic. I can imagine. That must be
yeah.
because you don't write book in a day, do you? Because it takes
No,
so much time
it
and
takes a
effort
long time.
and it's so much passion, soul
Yeah,
into it. And then
that's
like
it.
the final product come and
Oh,
unboxing it. Oh,
it's a lot of patience. You've got to have patience
mm-hmm,
because you've got to you do it reading it over and over and over. I mean, I uploaded the first one 17 times before I got it right. And I mean,
mm-hmm.
this one, I went to a local publisher, and I think um, I must have gone about 10
Mm-hmm.
times, and her and I went over it together. So it's not an easy. I think people think it is easy, but it's not.
No, I don't think it's easy, Pauline. It's
No,
dedication, it's pure
it's
dedication.
free.
It's hard
Yeah,
work,
yeah.
yeah, but it's enjoyable.
Oh, yeah. When you get the book in your hand and you
Uh-huh.
think, God, I've done it, it's fantastic.
Awesome.
But
Right.
yes, yeah.
Thanks very much for being my guest. And your story is absolutely amazing. And how you've overcome all those challenges and where you are so happy, smiling,
Yes,
and
yeah.
supporting others, helping other people.
I
I
think
just
that's the
admire
thing.
so much.
But it's like when you've gone through things, that's when you can help others because
Hmm.
you've got empathy for them. And I think that's why where the motivational therapy comes in, because
Hmm.
I've gone through it and I've had to motivate me, and I can motivate others
Yeah.
to get where they want to be.
Hmm. Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks very
Thank
much
you.
for your time. And I'm sure we will catch up soon. And thank you
Yes.
very much, everyone, for watching. My next guest would be James Duran, and I'm going to come back on Saturday. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Let's see. And